Folks, welcome back to the TRE. Matt Salesio here. We got an amazing guest calling all the way in from Boston. Dr. Peter, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And an episode today on the topic of sleep is something that, number one, every human does. And number two, I think almost every human struggles with. So the information we're going to get into today is going to be phenomenal and impact driven. Now, before I always get into the episode, do you have an intention? I always ask my guests an intention for our listeners today that you hope they take away from, they learn, anything that comes to mind for you here.
Yeah, my intention is that people understand that not all sleep is created equal. Just because you close your eyes and you wake up 8 hours later that you got good sleep. There's such a differentiation between getting good sleep and getting good quality sleep. So I want people to understand that there's so much more to just falling asleep and staying asleep to really getting good quality, great sleep.
Absolutely. That's a good distinction. We're definitely going to touch on that quality versus quantity. Now, to paint the landscape, I want to know there's a million different ways that we talk about health and wellness. We're a holistic wellness company first, but you advocate sleep first. Why sleep first across any other facet of wellness?
Well, let's look at our body like an iPhone or a smartphone, whatever they are, right? If you don't plug in, let's say you want to use all of your apps. If you don't plug in your phone to recharge your phone at night, you're not going to have any performance out of your phone during the day. So the health of your phone starts when you plug it in. And then you get the performance out of your phone during the day. You use it, you drain the battery down, you plug back in at night. We got to think of our bodies the same way. If we have low energy, or we're dragging, or we don't have the energy to really for times with our spouse, our kids, or exercise, then you're not plugging in correctly at night and you're not recharging, and the body is just deteriorating over a period of time. You can only go a few days, arguably, without sleep, but you can go a lifetime being sleep deprived and internalizing that to stress and disease.
I love the smartphone analogy. It's like cut and dry. Like you don't charge your phone, you're not getting optimization and performance out of it. And I've personally done this before at my entrepreneurial journey, my health journey. The first thing to always go is sleep. We always misprioritize it, let's say. So I'm glad that you're saying it's the foundation. It's one of the things we need to really hone in on performing, showing up in our relationships, making better decisions for our health and wellness journey. So it's really important understanding there. Now, I want to know, because sleep is important, we want to prioritize it. What are some common sleep disruptors that we get ourselves into every single day, maybe we don't know about, or that are self-imposed?
The biggest sleep disruptor is bar none for me, in being in this industry and seeing how your structure of your spine and body is destroyed at night when you're sleeping. It's how you're starting off sleeping. It's the position that you're starting in. It's how you're using your covers. So it's the first 10 minutes of what you do to fall asleep is really arguably what destroys your entire night's sleep. See, the average person will toss and turn 20 to 40 times a night, and that's because their body's in pain. And that's because of positioning. That's the number one thing that people get wrong is their positioning, how to use their pillow correctly, how to use their covers, and the position they put themselves in bed.
Wow. So even if we're tossing and turning when we're asleep, the body just subconsciously knows it's in pain and it's trying to constantly readjust. Is that what I'm hearing you say as well?
Yeah, because when you are, I call it in our program the triune of sleep. So you have three things at play when you're trying to get good sleep. You have the conscious brain, the subconscious brain, and the body. The subconscious brain is what's in control of most of your entire night's sleep. Most people think they can consciously put themselves in positions that they think are comfortable, but if the body is out of alignment, all they're doing is creating safety for the subconscious brain. So people curl up in these little balls thinking that they're comfortable, but it's just safety for the subconscious brain, and then the body is out of alignment. You're going to toss out of that position after 20 or 30 minutes. So we, as a culture, try to control everything. That where we get all screwed up in our sleep patterns is here. It's our conscious brain. So we need to put the conscious brain last, put the body first, and then create safety for the subconscious brain. And if you're able to do it in that manner, body in alignment first, safety for the subconscious, and shut the conscious brain down, just get it out of the way. That is really ultimately where you're going to get your greatest night's sleep, your best night's sleep. People start the opposite. They try to think all night long. They put themselves into these contorted positions. They love sleeping with their spouses. So, let's snuggle bug, and they use the same covers. And they're always trying to consciously control things that at night their subconscious hates, because it's thrown the entire system out of balance.
That's very interesting. It's almost like you're saying the body will choose something that's comfortable, but not necessarily vital for good sleep. Like you're saying,
the conscious brain will think that it's comfortable, but it's not comfortable. You feel safe for the subconscious brain. So, for instance, right? Comfort, let's change comfort to alignment. In order for you to not have discomfort, you need to put your body into a position that you're able to watch a 2-hour movie in without being in pain or moving out of that position. So most people, when they fall asleep, on their sides like this, or their arms are above their head, or they like this, you cannot possibly fall asleep in that position and watch a 2-hour movie, because your body is going to be in pain and you're going to move. This feels so safe, though. It's safe, right? So we have these animal avatars where we through taking 20 questions, we analyze your subconscious brain, and then based on what animal your subconscious identifies with, then we can teach those avatars how to sleep correctly, because each avatar sleeps a different way. Whether you're a gorilla, you're an armadillo, or you're an ostrich, I need to know what your subconscious brain looks like, because when we put your body into an aligned position, I need to talk to your subconscious to teach it how to feel safe. And that is ultimately how you get a great night's sleep. You get the conscious brain out of it, you bring the science into the subconscious, and then just create perfect alignment for the body.
that's very fascinating, that conscious mind, like you're saying. But would people, even in your experience, do they get frustrated because it's not as comfortable per se or safe as they try to realign in a more correct way?
Absolutely, without a doubt, because what they think is not let's say they're into this position. Something that's aligned for the body is unsafe for the subconscious brain. So let me kind of go all the way back to when I was a child. Okay, so when I was a child, I grew up in Malden, Massachusetts. It is on a busy street. There was a bus stop right on my front porch, and I was on the front porch. My window was on the front porch of my house. I heard the cars all the time. Every once in a while, somebody would play a joke and bang on my window and then run away. Like, think about that as a child, as an infant. And my parents would always say, just go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. Never taught me how to sleep. They just told me to go to sleep. So I would be so afraid. I would curl up in a ball. I'd have all of my stuffed animals all over my head. I'd create this cocoon and only would be able to fall asleep when I consciously felt safe. So then your body just gets into that state of safety. So then if I fall asleep like this, that's unsafe position for my body to be in. So the conscious brain's going to go like that, because it's going to create not a safe environment. So that's why people stay curled up in these positions, because ultimately it's the subconscious brain that's controlling everything.
So hearing all these different animalistic and quote unquote safe positions we sleep in, I'm assuming they're all not the most optimal to sleep in. Now, from your profession, maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but is there an optimal sleeping position that a lot of us are missing the mark on?
Yeah, so the optimal sleeping position is falling asleep on your back with your hands down by your side, and more importantly, getting your neck supported, not your head. because you want, so the way the body works is it's much, much, much different than building a house. When you build a house, you start from a strong foundation all the way up. The body works opposite. It's called the righting reflex. Body posture adjusts to head position. So if we're texting all day long and we're sleeping like this, what we're doing in a sense is we're destroying the structure of our cervical spine, which is then causing an adaptive scoliosis in the body. So instead of standing straight, everybody has a high shoulder, or their hips are out of alignment, or their back hurts. And they work so much on yoga and stretching and PT to fix all of this imbalance when it's all being controlled neurologically because you're losing the curve in your neck. So they're missing the mark. So what ends up happening is I've been in the industry now 30 years in helping people. I'm a kinesiologist. So the study of biomechanics, how the body moves, and understanding that it's not down, up, it's up, down. And maintaining the integrity of the cervical spine is how I ultimately herniated my lower back, my disc. And it wasn't until I got my sleeping position down and started restoring the cervical curve that my back basically untwisted because I fixed my neck. And I had no neck pain. I always had back pain. So people don't relate that all the way down.
Wow. So you're saying it starts from the top up in terms of this, or the top down in terms of the spine?
Yeah. So when you look at the spine, we should have curves. There should be a curve in the neck and then a curve in the lower back. If you use a pillow against your head, or you sleep on your side and your chin's tucked, which makes people not snore as much, what you're doing is you're losing the curve in the neck. So you pick up this twist in the lower back, and that's what causes the lower back problem. It's not here. It's all from here. And then the head tilts over. Now, the problem when the head tilts over, this is really where it gets screwy, where people don't. There's a nerve here called your vagus nerve. So then the vagus nerve gets compressed, and it affects your health in 3 areas: digestion, immune system, and reproductive system. So anybody that has low testosterone levels, or hormonal imbalances, or digestion issues, or hypersensitivities and allergies, it's all coming from the cervical spine due to that head translation. And when you have a problem with one of those systems, you have a problem with all 3. It's just they're at varying degrees of issues.
That's super fascinating that you're bringing up the vagus nerve, because I know that's the thing that connects. It's a superhighway that connects the brain to the gut. And I always preach about that a lot with my students, with my clients, with my audience. Now, when we have a deviation in that cervical spine that you were saying, or we're really disrupting that connection, is that going to cause hormones to misfire? Is that going to have poor communication? Are things not going to get delivered, for lack of a better term, from the gut and the brain? Is that how it works?
So the first time anytime we work with somebody with that digestion issue in our office, the first thing we do is evaluate cervical alignment. Because just like watering a garden, stepping on the garden hose, or having a light bulb and having a dimmer switch, if you take the dimmer switch and you turn it down 50%, I don't care what light bulb you put in the socket, it's never going to express itself fully. So if you have cervical misalignment, you're affecting the function of the vagus nerve, like watering a garden, stepping on the garden hose. You're going to affect the flow of nerve signal down that nerve. So anything downstream, immune system, digestive system, and reproductive system are all affected.
Wow. And what about the HPA axis? Does this get involved in that as well, our endocrine system?
It does, without a doubt, yes.
And same thing can happen. It doesn't produce hormones in the right way. It's maybe doing it at the 50%, like you're saying, stepping on the garden hose. And then all those communicators in the body get just thrown out to alignment and chaos. Is that it?
Right. So everybody looks downstream at the problems, right? Nobody looks upstream at the damming. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to look at the neurology. First, I can look at people now. You don't even have to, like, let's say somebody fills out a form like in a normal medical office, right? They check off their systems and here are my problems. And then the doctor looks at it. Oh, yeah, okay, what's wrong here? I take that form and I put it face down when they walk in. And I said, before, I'm not even going to look at this. I'm going to tell you what you wrote down here based on evaluating you. And now with almost a 90% accuracy, we can tell based on somebody's structure. You see, your posture is a battle between neurology and gravity. So the way that you stand tells me what your neurology looks like underneath, and then that's affecting the organs. So you can make that relationship, and it all starts with cervical alignment, and then it works down. So when you're looking at sleeping position, most people are like, oh, I sleep good. Well, if you're a side sleeper, you're going to have a shoulder issue. You're going to have a hip issue. You're going to have some sort of dysfunction, headaches or allergies or breathing issues, because you cannot put the spine in this contorted position for 8 hours a night and not affect the function because you're dimming down the neurology.
I love that you're saying that, because I'm a side sleeper, and now I'm
I
really
can tell
reevaluating.
because I can see the way your head translates. So when I look
Really?
at you, you hold your head down, and you more than likely you sprained your right ankle, and it translates all the way up to the right side of your neck, and it prevents you from turning your head to the left. So if you turn your head to the right and you're young, so no. So if you do this here, turn your head to the right, then turn your head to the left. You're going to have some restriction when you turn your head to the left side, and that translates all the way up from the bottom. And when you're young, you have plasticity within the tissue. As you get older, you'll notice that restriction becoming more and more of an issue, and that's how things complicate.
Wow, it's crazy that you know that just from being virtual too. So that's another thing for me that's really impressive. But I'm really hearing you say that the correction of the cervical spine here is really what's going to, number one, improve our sleep quality, and number two, have a nice effect on all the downstream organs, digestive issues, hormones, and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about how to sleep, like we said on the back, the neck support, we want to be arms on the side. I want to get into the other aspects of sleep as well, like the stuff that we're doing in the daytime that might affect the way that we sleep. Now, I want to know, in terms of circadian rhythm, how much of an impact does this have if we're living out of alignment of that circadian rhythm?
Well, the body. So our branding at Dr. Sleep Right is awakening the full potential of a way. So awakening the full potential of a well-rested, aligned you. So that's way, to help people get way better sleep. So it's well-rested and aligned. So alignment is alignment in the spine, but also alignment in life. See, your body responds to consistency. It wants consistency. And then your physiology is an adaptation to your daily rituals. It's a balance, it's a homeostasis. So let's say somebody's not happy with their weight, right? Your weight is an adaptation to your daily rituals. So a lot of people go on a diet, right? They go on a diet and they try to eat differently for a while. Let's say they fast or they do something. And then their physiology adapts to that. So let's say their physiology, now they lose weight. Well, if what they're doing to lose weight is not sustainable, and then they go back to the same lifestyle, they're going to just rebound and get back to the same homeostasis state. So your body wants balance. And when you throw it out of balance, that's called, then their body's going to have a delta or an adaptation, whether you're happy with or unhappy with. Then in order to go further, you need to be conscious about what you're going to do next. So now let's talk about somebody going to bed at 9 o'clock. Then they go to bed at 10 o'clock. And then they wake up at 5 o'clock, or then they wake up at 7 o'clock. There's no rhythm that's associated in the body. So that's the easiest way to destroy sleep is to throw the body out of balance and put it into chaos, because then it doesn't know what it's going to adapt to. So it goes into a survival state. That's like, when if you're going to run really hard one day, and then you're going to take 5 months off, and then you're going to run really hard, you're going to always be in pain because the body never adapts to anything on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's so huge. And I think that's a reason when I used to educate clients about sleep is as simple as it sounds, setting a bedtime and a wake time and sticking consistent to it. Because when I ask a lot of my friends, I'm like, what time do you go to bed? They go, oh, sometimes midnight, sometimes 2, sometimes 9. So it's a true testament to what you said. How does your body know when it's time for sleep versus when it's time to wake up if you're sporadically confusing it every single day?
Yeah, can't
Now,
happen. Won't happen.
it won't happen. Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a simple trick. It really sounds so basic, but it's very powerful because we're talking about that rhythm, the circadian rhythm of rise and sleep. So, one thing I do want to point out there, as we were on that topic of rhythm, was weight loss, or the habits that you're doing contributes to your weight. Now, when I first started my nutrition certification, and then I also did my sleep certification simultaneously, I noticed that some studies were saying when people were sleep deprived, or the less sleep they would get, it would be harder for them to lose weight, and the higher likelihood it would be that they were overweight. Have you heard of this? Does that ring a bell for you in any
I
way?
mean, the science, and I mean, it just makes sense, right? The science is so conclusive on that. I mean, hormonally, it increases leptin, decreases gremlin. So when you're looking at, and then it increases cortisol levels, puts your body into a survival state. When your body is in a survival state, it wants to conserve energy. When your body's out of survival, it can expend energy. So I mean, you can only run on your adrenal glands for so long before your body crashes. So you have different ways that body can energize, right? So your body can energize from food. It can energize. It can give you energy or make you stay awake if you are on adrenal glands, right? So you can be so tired and then take adrenal stimulants, and then oh my god, I feel awake. Or just juice yourself with vitamin B's. Oh my god, my heart's going out of my chest, but I'm awake, right? And so people do a lot of these depletion of energy because you're not getting enough sleep, and then taking products during the day to give you more energy. It's such a destructive pattern that leads to disease.
Because your body has all the neurochemistry within it to give all the artificial ones that you're taking every day, right?
Yeah, and like we're a symptom based culture. And
Mm.
when we don't like something, we take something to support it. Anytime you support something in the body, you weaken it. And then it throws the body's chemistry out of balance. And homeostasis says that the body will change, adapt, and then your homeostasis will balance at a level that you're not in control of. So when you're looking at anybody, most people that have dysfunction are sympathetic dominant systems. So sympathetic dominant is you have two systems in your body that are controlling everything that you don't have control of, keeping you awake and alive. It's the autonomic nervous system. So you have a sympathetic division, which is if you're going to run from a tiger or survive. And then you have the parasympathetic system, is when you grow and survive and repair. So if your sympathetics are relatively dominant to your parasympathetics, you're going to just run yourself down. It's the same thing with cholesterol. If your body's acidic because of your lifestyle, you're going to do damage to the lumen of the wall. The body will create LDL to patch it, and then an HDL to bring it back to the liver. If you're doing more damage, then the HDLs are going to rise. That's adaptation. There's no good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. It's all good, but our culture or our medicine looks at it as, oh, this is what causes heart disease. No, it isn't. It's a lifestyle. The cholesterol is an adaptation to the lifestyle. So when we start understanding disease as an adaptation to who you are physiologically, just like um, just like your weight is, it's all about adaptation. And then you back in lifestyle habits to then allow the body to adapt a different way, and that's how you restore somebody's health.
That's beautiful. And when we were on that topic of nervous system, like you said, parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, I think it's a nice transition to talk about anxiety in this sense. This is a topic that's been huge in my audience. Some of the content I've released has just gotten lots of engagement. So I want to know, because everybody's talking about anxiety through breathing techniques, breath work, yoga, meditation, all great aspects as well. But I want to know, when you address clients, even with anxiety, can sleep help in any way, shape, and form? Or what's the importance of sleep maybe over all these other things that we're trying for anxiety?
So first off, anxiety is a real issue. I dealt with it for so many years in my life, it affects your body's, it affects your ability to shut off your brain. It affects you in such a negative way. And in understanding your sleep avatar, your animal sleep avatar, basically is identifying your subconscious. So it tells us how you need to sleep. So your level of anxiety is what we're monitoring. And then how you need to sleep depends on how much pressure you need to use, how much safety you need to use, and things like that. But in a physiological standpoint, let's look at anxiety as the balance between the sympathetics and the parasympathetics. So as you know, whether you're running from a tiger or your body thinks you're running from a tiger, you're going to maintain the same internalized physiology. So if you always think you're running from a tiger because you're very anxious, you're running all of the apps on your iPhone at the same time. That's okay. But if you're only plugging in at 50% at night, you're going to run the system down. So if you are anxious, you better damn well understand quality of sleep. Because if you're not offsetting that by recharging at night, you're depleting your body during the day and you're running on adrenal energy versus, natural, restored, and repaired energy. Well, that doesn't make sense. But basically, you're not repairing enough at night because you're constantly in stress during the day. And if you don't put yourself into the right physiologically state at night, you're never going to get better. It all starts at night in the bed.
That's a huge distinction that you said there, with especially quality of sleep, right? We're doing all these things in the day. We're running on high alert and not giving our bodies the quality repair it needs. Now, I've experienced this. I know lots of my friends and users and audience has as well. They can sleep a full 7 to 8 hours, but not wake up feeling refreshed or revitalized. Is this one of the reasons why?
It's the reason why is because people are putting themselves to sleep. They're tossing and turning all night long. Their body's in pain. They're not getting the deep restorative sleep. The body temperatures aren't cooling because they're exercising too late at night. They're eating too late at night. The body's detoxifying at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So there are so many variables that affect somebody's ability to get a good, deep restorative sleep. But if you're tired during the day, so how do you know if you have a sleep issue? Bar none, hands down, if you're tired during the day. That's how you know. So if you're tired during the day, or you find yourself run down, or you're gaining weight and you're not able to lose it, you have a fatigue issue. And it all stems with alignment of the body. Take the sleep avatar test, learn how to create safety for the subconscious brain, and then shut the conscious brain off.
So then, like back to the earlier onsets of our conversation here, starting that quality sleep starts with how you're sleeping or falling asleep within those first 10 minutes. I know that you have an incredible product around this to help people maintain that cervical structure. So I want to pick your brain on this a little bit. How does your product help us, like the neck nest, with the cervical help, and especially those first 10 minutes of sleep?
All right. Let's do this here first. Let's turn this here. Actually, I might be able to do this. And I'm going to show you positioning. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So right now I have a neck nest on the bed, right?
Yeah.
You can see that. So when you start with the pillow, it all starts with positioning. Can you see how my head is not touching the bed and is not supported on the pillow?
Yes.
That's super important, because what I'm doing is I'm using the weight of my head to gently stretch a curve back into my neck. And then my hands and my feet are down by my sides. And then I would put the covers on top of me. So when you start with positioning, you then can create safety for the subconscious brain. And you do that by using a sleep mask, putting a pillow over your forehead, putting a pillow on your chest. You want to create pressure. The amount of pressure that you need to create and safety you need to create will depend on what avatar you are. Are you a gorilla? Are you an armadillo? Or are you an ostrich? You can go to drsleepright.com. You can take your free sleep avatar test, and then it tells you how you need to sleep in order based on what animal you align with.
And your neck nest there, it's slightly raised a bit to help push that curve. It's a very specific positioning there. It's fascinating. It's the first time I've ever actually seen something like that. Um, but now I'm curious, like, would people think that is just a little too much in the neck? Like for people who maybe struggle with migraines and they're on the back of their heads, I know that might be an issue for them. Does that even help though?
So
In
if
the way
you
that we realign?
notice, the neck nest is designed to compress all the way down to keeping your head about a quarter to a half an inch off of the bed. So it's very, 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 very soft. And it goes all the way down. And the reason I did that is because I want the slight distraction in the down-like material to be able to just support the neck by distracting the cervical spine. It looks uncomfortable to the conscious brain because ultimately your subconscious is telling the conscious brain that's not safe. I cannot sleep like that. There is no way. So exactly what your brain just did, your conscious brain just did, is what we need to shut down. So we do that through education. And once you're able to get the positioning correct and create the safety, it's a game changer for your sleep, because you don't sleep well because you don't know what you don't know. And when, we've been at this for about almost 10 years now, and I've been working with patients. It's taken me 2 years to get them to sleep in this position. And then they're like, I don't know why I waited so long to do this. This is unbelievable. I'm like, I've been telling you, because, it's like, why can I never get rid of this back problem? Because of the way you sleep. And yeah. I put a pillow between my legs. Okay, fine. Do that. But I'm going to guarantee you in 20 minutes that pillow's on the floor somewhere. It's just, once you fall asleep into these positions that the conscious brain thinks is right because they've heard this from, this doctor or this guy or this podcast, you're done. You're all done. You are only in control with the 10 minutes of how you fall asleep. After that, the subconscious brain's taken over. So let's look at that and understand why you don't get good sleep from a science and physiological way, and then just set yourself up in the right position. I don't care what your subconscious brain does. I just want to set yourself up to give your body the best chance for a good night's sleep. And that's how you start off.
That's huge. Okay, so Dr. Peter, we got the sleeping position down. We've talked about the daily habits throughout the day that help us realign to that rhythm and get us into a nice high quality sleep state. I want to talk about the sleep environment now as a whole. This is a thing that maybe a lot of people forget about. There's a lot of talk with like blackout curtains, minimizing blue light, don't have the TV on at night while you're sleeping. I want to talk about what a optimal sleep environment is. So like we can go over the science as 100%, but I want to know for Dr. Peter, what does your sleep environment look like?
Anything that creates safety for my subconscious brain. That's it. Bar none. I have all the shades down. I put a sleep mask on my eyes. I put a pillow over my forehead, and I put a big covers or a pillow on my chest. My hands and my feet are out of my covers so my body can temperature regulate, and my door's always shut. Sometimes if I'm home alone, my door's locked.
Absolutely, as it should be, as it should be. It's very interesting. Now, do you have any small lights in the room, whether that be an alarm clock, a crack in the window, nothing like that? How come?
Just because, the light in a room. I mean, there might be light leaks in my room. I'm not a freak like that because it's I sleep really well, and if you're really down to those things, you've screwed something else up. But flickering lights are a bad thing. Like an alarm clock light sometimes flickers, and if the sleep mask, let's say, rides up, or just use a pillow in that light flickers, it can stimulate your brain. A little bit of light in the room is not really a big deal. If somebody uses a red light or they have a salt lamp, that pink light in another room is not too bad of an issue, but it needs to be dim.
It needs to be dim. Yeah. Because is even your skin, does it have receptors that secrete cortisol and serotonin because they think it's daytime, even though it's a small speck of light? I've heard that. I want to validate that.
Yeah, I haven't found, I mean, we've dealt with tens of thousands of different people. You really have to have a bright light. Does your skin have receptors? Yes, but not enough. You have enough covered to be able to. It's really through your eyes is where you're going to have most of the issue. If you put a sleep mask on, my biggest thing is the parasympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetics are on during the day, your parasympathetics are on at night. So anything that you can do to stimulate parasympathetic tone and improve heart rate variability is going to be great improvement. If you noticed right before our podcast, I put a little scent to my nose. Well, why do I do that? Well, if I meditate or I practice breathing techniques, I always do it with the scent. Anytime I lower my heart rate through through controlling my respiratory rate, I always use a specific scent. I don't care what that scent is that you use, but if you then expose your body to that scent, subconsciously your body's calming down, right? So that's a parasympathetic hack to be able to help you calm in the middle of the night. Another thing is pressure against your eyes. For some reason, like a sleep mask that puts light pressure against your eyes, creates safety, stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you Google things to stimulate your parasympathetics and you do those at night, those are the things that will help you fall asleep.
Yeah, and even probably stay asleep with a higher quality, right? If you're more rested and calm, then your body is feeling more safe to rest, digest, and actually give yourself that deep rejuvenation that you need. That's very, very interesting. And there was another thing I wanted to touch on there, especially with quality. Is there an optimal amount of time to sleep, or is that individual for each person? Because some people sleep 4, some people, I know people who sleep 10, but what would you say is a nice sweet spot for people?
Well, basically to do it this way, I mean, if you don't know what your HRV is or don't understand HRV or don't know it, get something that tracks HRV. There are sleep trackers, there are wristbands, there are, I think the Apple Watches do it now. Identify a day when you're at your best and then identify what that HRV is, right? And then figure out the amount of sleep it takes for you to improve that HRV by, let's say, 20, 30%. So most people that we work with need at least 8 hours of sleep a night. I get 9 hours of sleep a night. It's just because I run very, very high sympathetic dominant during the day. I'm very athletic. Tonight, my sleep's going to suck. Why do I say that? How do I know that? It's because I'm going to be exercising at such a high level that my heart rate's never going to be able to come down in order to get me into deep sleep by midnight when I'm supposed to be. And I'll be in bed at 9:30 tonight, but my heart rate will stay high the entire night and won't come down until like 2 or 3 in the morning. That's because I'm exercising too late. Well, if you know that, why am I doing that? It's because I do things on a schedule. So tomorrow, I'll be able to take a nap in the afternoon because I'll sacrifice my deep sleep tonight. So once you're able to identify your patterns, you can then be conscientious about your health.
So even on days where you're saying you're very active or maybe high anxiousness, because they're both going to increase your heart rate variability. This I want to bring in now sleeping beside a partner. Would that help reduce that heart rate variability by making you feel more calm and collected, or do partners screw up our sleep without us knowing?
So it's the same thing. Your conscious brain wants safety, right? So your conscious brain wants to feel safe. So that's going to make you feel safe with a partner. But then what's going to happen is the body temperature is going to rise because their heat's going to affect your heat. You're going to play tug of war with the covers. You're not going to be able to temperature regulate effective. One arm's on you, the other arm's over. It subconsciously when you're sleeping, it's the worst thing to do. So me and my wife, we sleep with different covers. And I have my covers, she has her covers because I don't want to heat her under my covers. She doesn't want my heat under her covers because my body needs to have this sanctuary that it recharges in. And however you need to create safety, you want to do it alone and in your own cocoon.
That's real. That's the first time I've ever heard someone say separate covers. Usually it's either like I don't like sleeping beside my partner or we just sleep in separate beds. I know that's a common thing now too, but the separate covers in the same domain, I like that workaround. I'm definitely gonna have to try that out on some of my other content. Now, before we wrap up here, Dr. Peter, I want to know in terms of like the next future ahead, maybe a decade ahead, with any sleep research that's coming out, is there anything on the horizon that's super interesting that we need to take account of, or just start getting our teeth sunk into, for lack of a better term, as it comes down the pipeline?
Well, yeah. So we're working on a really cool project on anxiety in sleep and how to work with people's anxiety through the bed and balance. So one of the key features that people don't realize is that as you lose the structure of your cervical spine, you decrease something that's called proprioception up into the brain. When you do that, you degenerate a specific portion of your brain called your vermis. When you degenerate your vermis, the vermis's job is to build the prefrontal cortex, which is where your executive functioning and anxiousness is. So just by the fact of losing the structure in your neck, you're becoming more anxious as you age because you're decreasing that spin, or you're decreasing that excitement into the brain. You get anxious. So by changing your sleeping position and working on your balance, um, those two things together are really going to lead the way into the ADHD world and into anxiety. We're being brought in by colleges to be able to do this test and studies on sleep, on bringing sleep balance and decreasing anxiety into the college world. But by doing that, we're gamifying balance. So you'll stand on this thing, you'll get you'll get this. You have to keep this ball in a circle, and it'll be like a game to be able to get brain points. And by getting brain points, you're going to increase balance points. So it's actually a pretty cool little thing. But really look at balance and improving proprioception in the future that will help you align your sleep.
Those are some remarkable insights there, Dr. Peter. Now, number one, thank you for diving into all this great terminology, all these different facets of sleep and how it affects every area of our body. Now, before we go, I want to let you take the stage here. Tell listeners where they can find you, connect with you, and test out your products if they're looking to really hone in on some good sleep from now on.
I think that's great. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, Matt. They can just go to drsleepright.com, take their free animal sleep avatar test, figure out how you need to sleep. Then you're in my world. From there, you can check out our programs, our products, and you can check out NeckNest. There's a link to NeckNest there. But really, it all starts with understanding you. Whether you buy a NeckNest or you roll a towel up, you need to know, that the power is not in the product. The power is in the education and then the application of the product. So you don't get way better sleep by just getting a snore device. You get way better sleep by having way better habits, which then ultimately leads to a way better life.
That's fantastic. And yeah, listeners, everything that Dr. Peter said, we're going to link it in the show notes. So have a look over to his site, his socials. He's got tons of great stuff going on. And then you can further develop that education, like he was saying, and put some of the learnings today into action so you can start sleeping better tonight. So Dr. Peter, thank you so much again for coming on. This has been an exceptional conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.